The rain taps softly against the window, a steady rhythm that almost feels like a countdown, and inside the room, the screen lights up once again. But this time it's not excitement in the air, it's tension, a quiet, creeping tension that builds as the creator scrolls through analytics that feel both promising and incomplete. Because something is working, but not enough. Something is growing, but not fast enough. And in that fragile space between progress and frustration, a realization begins to form that this journey into the YouTube Partner Program is not a straight road, it's a maze. One where every turn demands a decision, and every decision carries consequences you won't fully understand until it's too late to undo them. Because now the creator is no longer blind to the numbers. They see patterns where there used to be noise. They notice spikes, drops, moments where viewers leave, moments where they stay, and suddenly the platform, YouTube, starts to feel less like a mystery and more like a system waiting to be decoded. But decoding it isn't easy, because every answer leads to a deeper question. Every improvement reveals a new flaw, and every small success raises the stakes even higher. There's a shift happening here, subtle but powerful. The creator is no longer asking, "Why isn't this working?" but instead asking, "What exactly is working and how can I do it again?" And that question changes everything because it transforms frustration into analysis, emotion into strategy, and guesswork into experimentation. And suddenly, the journey becomes less about chasing success and more about understanding it. But understanding comes with its own weight, because once you start seeing the mechanics behind growth, you can't ignore them anymore. Every weak intro becomes obvious, every slow segment feels heavier, every missed opportunity stands out like a mistake you can't unsee. And this awareness creates pressure, a constant need to improve, to refine, to do better than your last upload, even when your last upload already felt like your best. And yet, despite all this effort, there are still moments when nothing works. Videos that should have performed don't. Ideas that felt strong fall flat. And in those moments, doubt returns, louder than before, questioning everything you thought you understood. Because the truth is, the system is not fully predictable, and no amount of analysis can guarantee success. This unpredictability is what makes the journey so intense, because it forces creators to operate in uncertainty, to make decisions without complete information, to trust instincts that are still developing. And this is where many give up, not because they lack talent, but because they cannot tolerate the ambiguity, the feeling of not knowing whether they're on the right path. But for those who stay, something interesting begins to happen. Their instincts sharpen, their decisions become faster, more confident, more aligned with what works, not because they've mastered the system, but because they've spent enough time inside it to recognize its patterns, its tendencies, its subtle signals that guide those who pay attention. And with this growth comes a new kind of discipline, not forced, not external, but internal, a drive to upload consistently, not because someone said you should, but because you understand the role consistency plays in building momentum, in staying relevant, in giving the system enough data to recognize your value. And this discipline becomes the foundation upon which everything else is built. But then comes another realization, one that changes the entire perspective. The journey is not just about reaching the requirements anymore. It's about sustaining the kind of performance that makes those requirements possible. Because hitting 4,000 watch hours once is not the goal. Maintaining engagement over time is. Gaining subscribers is not enough. Keeping them interested is what truly matters. And this is where content evolves from simple videos into something more intentional, more structured, more aware of its own purpose. Hooks become sharper, pacing becomes tighter, storytelling becomes more deliberate. And slowly, the creator begins to operate at a different level, one where every decision is made with the audience in mind, not just personal preference. And yet, even at this stage, the finish line still feels distant, because growth is rarely linear. It accelerates, slows down, sometimes even reverses, creating a journey that feels unpredictable, even chaotic. But within that chaos, there is progress, invisible at times, undeniable in hindsight, and driven by a simple truth. Those who continue to adapt eventually break through. So the question now isn't whether the YouTube Partner Program can be reached. It's whether the creator can continue evolving long enough to reach it, whether they can handle the pressure, the uncertainty, the constant need to improve without losing motivation. Because this phase, this middle ground between starting and succeeding, is where most journeys end. But for those who push through, who stay focused, who treat every upload as a step forward rather than a test of worth, the path begins to clear, the system begins to respond, and what once felt impossible starts to feel inevitable. Not because the journey became easier, but because the creator became stronger. And that strength, more than anything else, is what carries them forward into the next stage of the game.